Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses as we continue with part 14 of Dr. R. Swinburne Clymer's Ancient Mystic Oriental Masonry. 231. It is a landmark that a book of the law shall constitute an indispensable part of the furniture of every lodge. I say advisedly, a book of the law, because it is not absolutely required that everywhere the Old and New Testament shall be used. The book of the law is that volume which is believed to contain the revealed will of the great architect of the universe. Hence, in all lodges in Christian countries, the book of the law is composed of the Old and New Testaments. In a country where Judaism was the prevailing faith, the Old Testament alone would be sufficient. And in Mohammedan countries and among Mohammedan Masons, the Quran might be substituted. Masonry does not attempt to interfere with the peculiar religious faith of its disciples, except so far as relates to the belief in the existence of God and what necessarily results from that belief. The Book of Law is to the speculative Mason his spiritual trestle board. Without this he cannot labor. Whatever he believes to be the revealed will of the grand architect constitutes his spiritual trestle board, and must ever be before him in his hours of speculative labor, to be the rule and guide of his conduct. The landmark, therefore, requires that a book of the law, a religious code of some kind, purporting to be an exemplar of the revealed will of God, shall form an essential part of the furniture of every lodge. 232. The Holy Bible of the Christian is no better to the Christian than is the Quran to the Mohammedan. Each believes that his faith is the only true one, and so long as each one does as he truly believes and lets his brother do the same, they are both right. How can the Christian say that his alone is the true religion? Such a thing is foolish and bigoted, and there is no Christianity in it. The oath of the Mohammedan would be of no value if taken on the Holy Bible, because he does not believe in the Bible. Mystic Masonry represents the religion of each and every one, knowing the foundation of each sect is the same as the other. 233. The religious philosophy of Masonry is as old as the first religion, for Masonry itself is founded on the mysteries of antiquity, which was already taught on the lost Atlantis. 234. Egypt was repeopled after the deluge by the sons of Ham, and they made more rapid advances in recovering a knowledge of the arts and sciences, particularly lost by that catastrophe, than any other people, until Egypt became to be looked upon as the mother of science. Philosophers of all nations restored there for instructions and initiation, and writers generally assert that her religious system was borrowed by all nations. Hence it is said the reason why Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Bacchus, Dionysius, Adonis, Hu, Shiva, Brahma, Odin, Bohai, etc. were said to be other names for Osiris and Venus, Astarte, Juno, Ceres, Proserpina, Cerdivian, Freya, Rhea, Sita, etc. of Isis. The legends of every one of the different phases of the mysteries, irrespective of country or language, had the same general character. In fact, each were all identical except in the name of individuals. Each legend represented the death by violence of some particular person. With some it was a god, with others a demigod, and with others a great warrior or person who had conferred single beliefs upon a man in agricultural pursuits or in the arts and sciences. In consequence of such death, something was lost. There was then a search made for that which was lost, a finding of it or of a part of it, or of something that was adopted as a substitute for it. A beginning in sorrow and lamentation, and an ending in joy and rejoicing. Such is a brief summary of the legend that accompanied the ceremony of each of the systems of the mysteries of which we have an account, either historically or traditionally, that has been practiced on this globe. We have presented that of the Egyptian mysteries because it has been generally regarded as the parent of all others. More pages of the writings of the ancients that have been preserved to our times are devoted to the mysteries than to the development of empires. Hence we have a better knowledge of the ceremonial and legend of many of the phases of the mysteries than we have of the country in which they were practiced. 235. That all the mysteries throughout the world were the same in substance, being derived from one source and celebrated in honor of the same deity, though acknowledged under different applications, is further evidenced from the fact that they are traced to the plains of Shinar before the dispersion of mankind. 236. They were introduced, so says tradition, into India by Brahma, into China and Japan by Buddha, into Egypt by Thoth, the son of Mizra, some say by Mizra himself, into Persia by Zarathustra, into Greece by Melampus or Cadmus, into Boeotia by Prometheus or Dardanus, into Mycenae by Caucon, into Thebes by Methapus, into Athens by Erechtheus, into Etruria by Philostratus, into the city of Arne by Linus, into Thrace by Orpheus, into Italy by Pelasgi, into Cyprus by Cinyras, into Gaul and Britain by Gomer, or his immediate descendants, into Scandinavia by Sagi or Odin, into Mexico by Huitzilopochtli, into Peru by Manco Capaca and his wife, and into Judea by Hiram Abiff. 237. Egypt was the cradle of all the mysteries, at one time in possession of all the learning and religion that was to be found in the world. It extended into other nations the influence of its sacred rites and its secret doctrine. The importance, therefore, of the Egyptian mysteries will entitle them to a more diffusive explanation than has been awarded to the explanation of the other rites. 238. The priesthood of Egypt constituted a sacred council, in whom the sacerdotal functions were hereditary. They exercised also an important part in the government of the state, and the kings of Egypt were but the first subjects of the priest. They had originally organized and continued to control the ceremonies of initiation. Their doctrines were two kinds, the exoteric or public, which were communicated to the multitude, and the esoteric or secret, which were revealed only to a chosen few. And to obtain them it was necessary to pass through an initiation, which, as we shall see, was characterized by the severest trials of courage and fortitude. 239. The principal seat of the mysteries was at Memphis, in the neighborhood of the Great Pyramid. Within the pyramid, they were of two kinds, the greater and the lesser, the former being the mysteries of Osiris and Serapis, the latter of Isis. 240. Mysteries was the name given to those religious assemblies of the ancients, whose ceremonies were conducted in secret, whose doctrines were known only to those who had obtained the right of knowledge by a previous initiation, and whose members were in possession of signs and tokens by which they were enabled to recognize each other. For the origins of these mysteries we must look to the Gymnophocists of India, from whom they passed through Egypt into Greece and Rome, and from likewise they were extended in a more immediate line to the northern part of Europe and Britain. The most important of the mysteries were those of Mithras, celebrated in Persia, or Osiris and Isis, celebrated in Egypt, of Eleusis, instituted in Greece, and the Scandinavian and Druidical rites, which were confirmed to be Gothic and Celtic tribes. In all these various mysteries we find a single unity of design clearly indicating a common origin, and a purity of doctrine as evidently proven that this common origin was not to be sought from the popular theology of the pagan world. The ceremonies of initiation were all funeral in their character. They celebrated the death and resurrection of some cherished being, either the object of esteem as a hero or the devotion as a god. Subordination of degrees was instituted, and the candidate was subjected to probations varying in their character and severity. The rites were practiced in the darkness of night, and often amid the gloom of impenetrable forests or subterranean caverns, and the full fruition of knowledge, for which so much labor was endured and so much danger incurred, was not attained until the aspirant, well tired and thoroughly purified, had reached the place of wisdom and light. 241. Among all the ancient people there was both a public and secret worship. The secret worship did not originate in Egypt, but in ancient Atlantis, and from thence to Egypt. The secret worship has always been known as the mysteries, and there is no doubt but that these mysteries were the same in substance in the religious philosophy. Their legends and the very foundation was the same. These mysteries could only be obtained by initiation, and the members of such orders were always known by signs or tokens. This secret worship or initiation was not because the initiates did not want the people to know the secrets, but because the people were not able to receive the knowledge. It is foolish to say that the priests of the mysteries wanted to keep the people in ignorance. Such was not the case, but the masses have never been able to receive these mysteries, nor can they at the present time. 242. The qualification for initiation in the mysteries of Greece were maturity of age and purity of conduct. A character free from suspicion of immorality was absolutely required in the aspirant. Nero, on this account, did not dare, when in Greece, to offer himself as a candidate for initiation. The privilege was at first confined to the natives of Greece, but it was afterwards extended to foreigners. Significant symbols were used as means of instructions, and words of recognition were communicated to the initiated. 243. In these regulations, as well as in the gradual advancement of the candidate from one degree to another, that resemblance to our own institution is readily perceived, which has given these, as well as to other ancient mysteries, the appropriate name of spurious Freemasonry. 244. These mysteries existed in every country of heathendom, in each under a different name and to some extent under a different form, but always and everywhere with the same design of inculcating, by allegory and symbolic teaching, the great Masonic doctrine of the unity of God and the immortality of the soul. This is an important proposition, and the fact which it enunciates must never be lost sight of in an inquiry into the origin of Freemasonry, for the pagan mysteries were to the spurious Freemasonry of antiquity precisely what the Master's Lodge are to the Freemasons of the present day. It is needless to offer any proof of their existence, since it is admitted and constantly referred to by all historians, ancient and modern, and to discuss minutely their character and organization would occupy a distinct treatise. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you very much.